How does St. Paul and St. Barnabas do it? Indeed, how do any of the apostles do what they've been doing these last few weeks in the first reading? Today, St. Paul and St. Barnabas traveled to Lystra, Iconium, Antioch, Pisidia, Pamphylia, Perga, Achaia, and back to Antioch. They seem to be traveling around like Energizer bunnies, going from one city to the next, stopping just long enough to spread the gospel, and then moving on to the next one. In 2 weeks, our church celebrates the World Day of Communications. But indeed, already Pope Benedict has been laying the groundwork for speeches and talks these past couple of weeks, because it is such an important day in our church. What exactly is it? The World Day of Communications. It's the day where the church, and the Holy Father especially, encourage us as Catholics to use everything at our disposal to spread the good news of the gospel. Especially in recent years, that message has been tailored to encouraging us as Catholics to take advantage of new ways of communicating and spreading information, especially through the internet. And most are indeed shocked to learn that the church is in favor of us using the internet and other technology. Most people think that the church is against all things scientific and fun. But it isn't. The internet is certainly, in all technology, is certainly something that is morally neutral. That means it depends on how we use it. And certainly the church has been warning us and continues to warn us about some of the pitfalls of the internet. Especially those that would be, first of all, the pitfall of pornography. Pornography is something that is continuing to spread throughout our culture. Indeed, statistics say that 70% of men 18 to 34 look at pornography once a month or more on the internet. I can tell you, from listening to confessions and hearing confessions throughout the Archdiocese, that statistic is accurate. And I can also tell you from those confessions that it is indeed very much something that weighs on the souls of those who use the internet in that way. Studies have shown that it rewires the brain in a way that can never be undone. And while it is something that initially has made its inroads into the male population, it is also becoming more of an issue for females as well. It is indeed an addiction. And we need to be mindful of that pitfall. It is not something that just affects one person, it affects all of us. And it is something that we do well to always remember and to make sure we are paying attention to that potential pitfall. Another pitfall of the internet and technology in general is time. The time that a lot of people end up wasting. Young people, teenagers specifically, have been shown in a recent study that they spend 40 hours a week on the internet, television, some form of video, electronic entertainment. 40 hours a week is a full-time job. And indeed, I don't think that most of that time is being spent in ways that are productive. How are we using our time when we're on the internet and when we're using and taking advantage of these new means of communication? A third pitfall that psychologists have noticed with the internet is the temptation to actually be more uncharitable when we're communicating with people via the internet. It often provides the opportunity to hide behind chat room names or whatever other names we have. And indeed, the temptation to sometimes fire off the first thought that comes to our mind, press send. That first thought oftentimes is actually one that is probably more uncharitable. especially with our young people, but even parents are getting involved. There was just recently a case, I believe it was in New Jersey, where a bunch of parents logged on to the internet on Facebook and pretended to be children and bullied a young one of their children's classmates. They bullied that child to the point where that child committed suicide. The temptation again is out there to misuse, to hide behind identities. And we have to be mindful of that as we brave a new trail into the internet. But back again to these apostles. Here they are traveling all these cities: Lystra, Iconium, Antioch, the city of Pamphylia, and on and on and on. All these cities throughout the Mediterranean. And the interesting thing about that, and I think what the church is calling us to be mindful of with this World Day of Communications, is all of the work and all of the time that those apostles spent. We can reach all of those people with one click of a mouse. We can reach all of them. The internet is an amazing opportunity to reach out to people and to spread the good news. And in fact, in last year's World Day of Communications, Pope Benedict's message was directed specifically to young people, our young adults and our teenagers. He said, it falls in particular to you, young people, who have an almost spontaneous affinity for the new means of communication. He said it is your responsibility, and I encourage you to take up that responsibility to spread the good news and to announce the gospel to your friends with enthusiasm. Our young people who so often probably feel excluded in some ways from the goings-on of the church, this is your task. This is your opportunity. But indeed, the question then becomes, well, how do I do that? Young animal, how do I carry out the gospel to other people? Does this mean that I'm supposed to log on to Facebook and put a new Bible quote up there every 10 minutes? Or, constantly spout church doctrine via emails and chat rooms to other people? I don't think that's the answer, although those things are good, the Bible and the doctrines of the church. But I think the way that the church is calling us, and I think Christ is calling us to do this work, is to simply be people who are good, who exude goodness, not hiding behind some fake identity and being more uncharitable than you would normally, but instead to be people of love. If we look at Christ's words in the gospel today, what does he say? He says, those people out there, whether that be on the internet or at work or wherever we encounter them, those people will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. He didn't say they'll know you're my disciples if you quote Bible passages to them or if you quote church doctrine to them, although that's good. And that may be something that happens down the road. But I think the way that we are to spread the good news is to be people who are good, who make other people say, there's a joy about that person. I'm not exactly sure, I can't put my finger on it, it's a mysterious quality, but I know when I interact with them face to face, or when I have a discussion with them on the internet, or the things that they pass on to me, there's a joy about them and a love for life. May that be our strategy. May we be a people who love one another and spread love and spread joy, however it is that we encounter people. May we receive Christ here at this altar and this Mass, and may we then take him out to others by being the people who are full of love, full of joy, and full of goodness. And may we spread that